Welcome back to the channel. My name's Adrian. Today I'm going to be taking a look at Cursed Scroll Volume 2. So this is the follow-up to Cursed Scroll Volume 1, obviously. And I recorded the review for that last week, and next week I'm going to be doing Volume 3. So the reason I'm doing them now is I have been asked quite a lot to actually cover the Cursed Scrolls, and I'd actually not really realised that I hadn't done any of them. But also Western Reaches, the Pledge Manager, if you want to grab the new Kickstarter, ends on the 28th of February. So I thought, let's get these done now as well, because if you are backing Western Reaches and you're not sure whether you want to sort of add the other earlier sort of 1, 2 and 3 Cursed Scrolls, so that's the whole reason for this one. This is based in a desert setting, so each of the Cursed Scrolls, I probably should explain, have a unique setting. They've got a hex crawl map, they've got an adventure. It adds new monsters. This one adds new game mechanics, a whole chunk of mounts. We've got 3 new classes, and I think, well, I don't think, I prefer this setting to the first one. Don't get me wrong, I love witches and things like that. And this isn't going to be a video comparing 1, 2 and 3, anything like that. You know, I'm going to sort of reviewing it on its own stance. But there is something really, really nice and interesting about a vast sort of desert. It's, you know, you've even got maybe that Egyptian feel because of the desert setting. You've got sort of Lawrence of Arabia sort of vastness of nothing when the players are going to go around the hex crawls with, you know, interspersed with hidden temples. There's these statues of these humans. It's one of the areas I'll talk about, and they're sort of 8 adventurers that have just been turned by a wandering. I think they were turned to glass with this wandering sort of mage, and you can sort of try and undo it. And I'd say it's what Kelsey does with all of these Cursed Scrolls is absolutely brilliant, because they're all feeling the same world as well. Because, you know, like with sci-fis, when especially Star Wars does this, I'm just going to have a rant quickly. When you go, oh, let's go to Hoth, and the whole of the planet is ice, or you go to Tatooine, the whole of the planet is desert. What Kelsey feels like she's doing with all these Cursed Scrolls is it's the same world, but they're different continents and different areas. So yeah, and it's building really well. I've probably rambled too much. Let's just get into this. I'll put in the link into the video description. I will include a link for the Kickstarter, so if you want to go and get your late pledges on that, and also a link in the description, so you can actually pick these up direct from the Arcane Library. Here we have the front cover for Cursed Scrolls 2, Red Sands. So it's offering desert sorcerers, bandits, lost treasure, ruins, pit fighters, perilous adventures. Like all of them that I've looked at so far come in at 68 pages, so it's just got this format. And as with the others, you've got the hex crawl map in here. Let's pay attention to this here, 304. That's going to be where the arena is. And again, that's another area I'm going to talk about. What I don't do in these videos is I'm not going to really spoil all the surprises on the hex crawl. There will be moderate spoilers in here. But also, once we get to the adventure at the back, you'll see the map, so there will be an element of spoilers, but again, I'm not really going to get into the actual nitty-gritty of the adventure. But we've got the area here. This is the Djurum, which is a vast shimmering desert where red mountains stand silent and watch over the wind-blown valleys and unadulterating sand dunes. So there's wandering merchants and things like that all in here. And as with Kelsey's other Cursed Scroll adventures, you do get rumours in here, and then you've got some random encounters for different hex crawls and 4 different types of creatures that you're going to get from walkers, flyers, diggers, and people. Right, so let's just get into the legal part. So writing, design, dungeon cartography, layout is all done by Kelsey herself, and there's some additional stuff and artwork, and the variety of artists are in here, and the fonts used, etc. So that's all in there. We're going to start with the contents. So the contents is going to take us through the hex crawl, the encounters, the introduction, which is this page here. We've then got the character section. So if you're a player, you're absolutely fine for here. So that's going to take us through the Desert Rider, the unkillable pit fighter, the Rasgadai, which is it's quite a terrifying class, this one. They're sort of assassins, the titles, and then new weapons. Gameplay, I think the players can you can probably stay for the gameplay. That's going to take you through some downtime activities, so pit fighting, some pit fighting encounters, a specific arena that's in here, enduring wounds, which I love. I'm not sure every games master or player is going to like it. Got some poisons, then mounts. Then, if you're a player, that's the time to go. Send this video to your games master, because you're going to want him to run this. We're then going to look at the Djurum, which is the hex crawl part of the map. Then we've got a monster page. We've got about, I think it's about 6-7 pages of monsters, NPCs, some gladiators in there, and the mounts that are missing from the core rulebook that are included in the mount section here. We then get this wonderful adventure with, I actually think it's probably one of the best premises for an adventure I've ever read. And I'll come on to that when we get to it. And then, if you find a dead bandit, with the back page, we're going to get it. It's all hyperlinked in here as well. Right, so let's get into the first of the characters. First one we've got up is the Desert Rider class. So this is a fighter. It's a mounted fighter, and that's really it, which for this setting I think is really good. Well, for other settings potentially it's going to be good. The downside is once you are off that mount, you really haven't got any abilities whatsoever. So if you works perfectly for this environment, but if you are thinking of going into dungeon crawling, maybe that isn't a class that you should be picking. But let's just get into it. So you've got weapons, you've got clubs, daggers, javelin, longsword, pike, short bow, scimitar, spear, and whip. Whip's an odd one, but more options is always better. Thematically, it feels a bit strange in my head. Leather armor and shields, as you imagine, you're not going to be wearing. Well, you could wear a lighter version of plate, but these are desert horses, so they're not designed. They tend to be faster horses than not a full like the knight's horses, if that makes sense. D8 hit points. You'd expect that from the martial class. But then they get this ability, charge 3 times a day. They can charge during combat, and you move at least near before attacking, and then you're going to get to do double damage. I think I would have preferred to see that once per battle, as once per combat, just because 3 times a day seems okay. You can run in full action and then run back, but restricting it to 3 times, I think that's just my little minor moan on that. And then we've got this mount, so obviously they can get a camel or horse with reliable or lovely demeanor. We'll look at that when we get to page 29. The AC is going to increase as time goes up, and you can get off your mount, nice and quick and easy. I say it's really good. I think this works well if you had a whole bunch of them, or if you're going to make a specific NPC or something like that. I don't see this as a class that I'd ever want to play. And I think if anyone played it, you're going to have to play into the strengths of the game master, just because you're going to stop. The player could feel quite underwhelming, if that makes sense. I'm not picking on the class. It's just in my head, I just think people will be disappointed if the adventure is wrong. Now, where they're not going to be disappointed is this pit fighter, Conan the Barbarian type thing, more from the movies, if that meant the first movie, than the books. But they're going to have all weapons, leather armor, and shield. Makes sense. You're not really going to have sort of full plate or anything like that. D8 hit points, as you'd expect. Now, this is where they start to get a little bit unkillable, maybe, because they've got 3 abilities that all work well together, and then they've got this 4th ability that makes one of the other abilities quite powerful. So flourish 3 times a day, gain a d6 hit points when you hit an enemy with a melee weapon. So not range, melee. So you're going to hit someone, I guess, gain empowerment. You're not entertained, that sort of feeling from the film. It's only a d6 of points, so first, second level, that's going to feel really powerful. Once you're getting into 5th, 6th, 10th level, it's not really going to feel that powerful, but it's still going to keep you up, which is really good. They then get Last Stance. I'm going to come back to Implicable in a minute. But you, when you're rolling and you're on 0 hit points, you can, normal characters need a 20 to get up. These are going to 18 to 20. They're going to get 15% chance to actually bounce back up with 1 hit point. That extra 10% is huge. And then Relentless. So 3 times a day, when you're reduced to 0 hit points, make a DC 18 Constitution check. It's quite high. It's going to be quite hard, so it's not going to come up that often. Again, 15% chance. A basic, to get the 18 or more. Might be even more, depending on whether you've got a high con or low con. So it's, it's still a good one. And on a success, you're just going to come back with 1 hit point. What makes that really good is the Implicable ability here. You have advantage on Constitution checks to resist injury, poison, and endure in extreme environments. I don't know. I kind of think that you'd be able to roll that Constitution check at advantage. Let me know in the comments below whether I'm misreading that resist injury to roll in for hit points. I don't know. Now I've changed my mind. As I read this before sending through the review, I don't think I'm going to allow it now. Let me know. Let me know how you are running this in your game. And then finally, we've got the Rasgadai class, which is black-clad assassins trained from childhood to hide, and they've got their own area within the hex crawl. Blowguns, bowlers, daggers, razor chain, scimitar, shuriken, spear. Leather armor, only a d6 points, which I think they're kind of like a thief-ish, but really good assassin. If you've played Vampire the Masquerade, and this very much feels like the Black Hand, and the favourite one. He was in second edition Jalana Jav. He was like one of the They had a book with like the most wanted vampires, and he was. I can't remember if he started the Black Hand. He was really high ranking assassin in there, and it just feels like that, which is why I love this class. And so the ability they get, you have advantage on checks to sneak and hide, and you deal double damage if your target is unaware of your presence. But smoke step 3 times a day. Oh, this is good. Teleport to a location you can see within near. This does not use your action. So think about that. You can teleport to any location that you can see within near that doesn't use your action. Theoretically, you can move in, not using your action, use your action to attack because they weren't aware of you, do double damage, and then smoke step straight back away again. And then further away again if you need to get out. It's a great ability, absolutely great ability. And then Black Lotus. You've earned the right to roll on this Black Lotus talent table, which is going to just give you roll a d12 and you're going to get, well, if you get a 1, you're going to get to roll on this table twice. I'm not going to spoil anything other than, let's just go, you gain additional hit points die. So, yeah, it's just going to give a random 1 of 12, well, 1 of 11 really good and interesting abilities. There are other things in the hex crawl as well coming up where you can find chances to roll on this table again, and that's for anyone. So that's really cool that it's in there. So we've got the titles, as you'd expect, for lawful, chaotic, and neutral. Love titles. It just allows the players to sort of feel level up, power up with their name and title as they go through. So I always love it when writers and creators put this in. We've then got some new weapons from blowgun, bowlers, morning stars, and we've got some new special abilities in here. So it's like a blowgun, lash. So when you make this weapon, you can do a ranged attack. It does not leave your grasp. So as you'd imagine, the whip is going to have that. So that's going to be able to sort of hit people out within sort of near range, I'm going to guess. So we've got, close and near range. Let's just read on the table. You can see it from there. It's only d4 damage, but it's a finesse weapon as well. So that's quite cool. So you can use your dex or strength with that whip. Actually, that's quite good, combining that with the Desert Rider. That's quite a handy little thing to do. Maybe the Desert Rider isn't as bad as I think. Right, gameplay elements. I think players can pretty much stay here for this. So this is downtime, another downtime thing to do instead of or in addition to carousing. So we've got pit fighting. Now, one thing to remember, pit fighting is not lethal. You think back to ancient Rome, the films quite regularly get this wrong. Most gladiators were not deliberately killed at the end of the fight because they were worth money. And a lot of them got their freedom. If they survived a certain amount of fights and stuff, they could buy their own freedom. So this is earing on that sort of thing as opposed to fights to the death. Again, I'm going to go back to the Conan Barbarian movie where he was taken from a kid and just trained to fight to the death, which actually is a great montage. I was watching it the other day, and I think it's something like 12 minutes before he even speaks a word. It's so well made. Anyway. I'm doing the sidetrack thing that I do quite regularly. But setting up the bout, so you're going to need to roll for your venue and the stakes. And then the fighters decide whether they want to accept it or decline it. So we've got danger levels as well, from low, medium, high to epic, and separate tables for that. Then you may have a twist in there. And if the players win, they could get some treasure from treasure tables and result in some additional XP. So venue's just going to take you down from a shady back alley to a glorious Colosseum. You randomly roll for stakes from low, medium, high, or epic, which is then going to take you onto this table here on the further off to the right. How much they can win, gaining favours from NPCs, big favours, or potentially a favour from a royalty, or epic stakes, the wish. So you can get a wish from a djinn, which is it's jinny, it says here, but genie. So that's Kelsey can call it what she wants. It's up to her. So yeah, I don't know. I've ever seen it with that extra I at the end. I don't know. Maybe jinn is plural and genie is singular. Who knows? I'm sure someone's going to tell me in the comments because you guys are brilliant. And there might make potential for the twist in here. So roll 2d6. There might be additional traps under the floor or nothing can come. A donor increases the stakes by 1 level. Or an attendee throws a useful boon, item, or spell to the fighters during the bout. Then going to get the low stakes pit solo or group. So depending on whether it's one player wants to fight in there or the whole party or some of the party's going to go in, you're going to be rolling. And I like this 2 creature idea because you can, as the games master, you can decide whether they're going to work together, whether you release 1 creature and then just put a d6 down and then just keep rolling it down so they know another creature is going to be released. They could be working together, but in like 2 lions are probably not going to work together. So they might actually attack each other, so give the player a little bit of respite. And then we've got the complications. You're going to put a spike net in there, burning oil. It's really, really cool. The amount of additional play you as the games master are going to have around the players by just these nice simple tables. Then we've got the example of the Thraxis Arena, which is what I said, that's the area, I think it was 305 on the Hex Crawl map. And it's just going to take you through a little bit of detail of the arena. All the bouts take place at night. The crowd are bloodthirsty. And then you're going to roll a d8 here for the crowd. So it's nice that you've got a little bit of an example here. And then you've got this, look at this armor. It's going to protect him. That's why he's covered in scars and veins. Enduring wounds. If a PC survives going to 0 hit points after a severe injury, they may suffer an enduring wound. No, they should. I think they should. Characters must roll a DC 12 con check, and if they fail it, they roll on the table below. Now, I'm only going to spoil 2 of them in here because, again, Kelsey just... I love everything Kelsey does but mostly, if that makes sense. But you're on D20, and you may lose some stat points or attribute points or ongoing things. Something like that, which is brilliant. Loads of role-playing games do this. Warhammer Fantasy role-playing, permanent injury tables. But I kind of want to just spoil the 1 and the 20, which I really appreciate that's gone in here. So 1, I should imagine, is really bad. There's a chance you're going to die instantly. It's a DC 15 con save, but you just could die of a heart attack. Or if you get that 20, you're going to have advantage on your next attack or check. How's that brilliant? You've gone from dying to some god has gone, now's not your time. Pick up the player, off you go and whack them with advantage. Really good. And then the stuff in the middle is really interesting. It's why I loved Necromunda and games like Blood Bowl, because it's the first time I'd ever played a board game where there were consequences to actions, and consequences are the thing that makes role-playing so interesting. And so with Necromunda, as your gang leveled up, they got special abilities, but as you hurt the opponent's gang, you could actually be removing abilities or reducing stats. So every game had consequences. I love this. I know there are certain players that are going to go, I don't want this. I don't want this in my game. We then get this section here on poisons, and I think the only thing I thought was a bit strange, there is no price list for this, but it does kind of talk about the countless flowers, creatures, fungus, where you can go and find the poisons, and there are plenty of other rules out there for sort of making poisons, which is, I think, why it's not in here. Just have these, to hand for the players. Obviously, if you want to put prices in, use the comparable prices in the core rulebook. And yeah, here we go. The con. Oh, this one's bad. Con 18. I like that. I hadn't read this one. The Kingslayer Oil. DC 18 con or delayed onset 1 hour and go to 0 hit points. That's quite cool. You make the players just roll a con check, then do nothing, and then you got the torch timer going on. so you're going to know round about when an hour of game time comes in, which is cool. When we're looking at mounts, this is obviously playing very much into the Desert Rider class, but anyone else can actually have a mount. But you can push them out to make them additional movement. They are going to be a beast of burden, so they can use their strength times 5 for slots. So, and there is an elephant on here, which is going to be able to carry an awful lot. Very much Hannibal, wasn't it, from the A-Team? Not from the A-Team. Hannibal Carr Barker, I think was his full name, from the... where was he from? I went there, Tunisia. And then we've got camels and silver camels. So all the creatures that are missing from the core rulebook are covered in this book. So this is where we get things like the scrag, which is a lizard, and then the war scrag here, which can wear armor. The spook element is whether they're going to spook in combat, and if they don't spook in combat, You don't need to make a morale check. If they do spook, the rules for it are here. Okay. Then we've got Mount's personality, and when we were looking at the Desert Rider, they could have reliable or lovely as a standard mount. So what you're going to do is you're going to take their charisma modifier, roll 2d6 to find out the mount's personality, which I really like. So it's going to give them, whether they're going to be stubborn, they likes only the owner, no one else is going to be allowed to ride on them, whether they're protected, affectionate, things like that. Okay, so that's it. Players, go. Just Games Masters in from here. So we're going to have a look at the hex crawl that I say. I'm not going to spoil it too much. But this, I think a lot of people can use this sort of temperature and weather for any other game. So this is going to be something that you're going to want to pick out. So every day you're going to want to roll, every day and night you're going to want to roll, see whether it's Inferno, very hot, warm, cool or chilly, and what sort of wind effects you're going to have, sandstorms, driving and gusty. And it's just going to sort of explain down in here and how long the sandstorms and stuff are going to last for. I'm going to pick out a couple of locations. So we have got, the Fortress of Ruins here. So there's a shell of a once mighty sandstone fortress that lists in the dunes like a sunken ship. Okay, there are 20 ghosts in here, and the players can go and do something. And again, this is one of the things that I love about these hex crawls, the way Kelsey builds them, is it just gives you an idea. So you've got some ghosts, and someone's done something that they'll tell them. I'm not going to spoil what it is, and I'm just going to move on in a second. And the players can go and do it. And obviously, if they never go to that location, or if or it might not come up, but also you've got that element of the rumours and stuff, for the players can go and find things. The Shah Oasis is a place that the players are probably going to want to go to, because that is where the famed Thraxis arena is. And it's going to talk about Ramir the Lion, a 50-year-old former gladiator who's now the leader of the area. And there's about 60 merchants in there. I love this 407, the bones, because this isn't too much of a spoiler. The bleached bones and skulls of a titanic prehistoric beast lie in the sands. Just reminds me of Tatooine, the crate dragon that's in there. This is significantly larger than that crate dragon from Star Wars, but I just like it, and there's other things going on there too. There are some howling caves here, so wind blows over the craggy faces of the howling caves, filling the silent desert with thrumming, hypnotic tones. Here we go, the Ring of the Glass Man. It was glass. And they can go and stop them being glass, but there's a way of doing it, and then obviously rewards will be given to them. But this is my favourite little bit on here. The Razgadai sort of temple, it's monastery actually, that lurks and hidden there, where if the players go there and there's certain things that they can do, if they went over, they might get to roll on that Black Locutus table as well, which is really, really cool. So let's have a quick look at some of the monsters. So we've got the Silver Camel in here. Hero is one of the gladiators. We've got a Mirage here. Rookie, which is an inexperienced gladiator. We've got the stats here for the Razgadai. I forgot the Canyon Ape. So a clawed ape with sandy, matted hair and reflective eyes. Carnivorous ambushes the hunters. And then we've got the Scrag Lizard and the Scrag War Lizard here. So those are the mounts. And then the slight spoiler here that there is a big dragon that is going to murder everything that goes near it if the players are that foolish, living in the area, which, said the players will find it in the rumours. There's certain places where you're going to see it sort of flying over and things like that. And then we get into, this is an amazing backstory for an adventure. And the thing that I was quite surprised at, so it's an adventure, I should just scroll back quickly. So it's an adventure for 4th to 6th level players. And it feels about right. It does feel for that sort of power level, which is really cool. But the backstory is amazing, because it's split into 2 different areas, because you've got the Efreet Lord, Pasha Jafar, has twin sons, Malik and Gaspar. Both are cool and conniving as his father, but the law basically says that the firstborn must inherit the title. They are twins. Now, I know specifically that one twin would probably come out before the other. I'd say probably. I think that's how twins work. I know how that's twins work, I'm sure. But what the father doesn't want to do is he doesn't want to nominate. He wants one to outlive the other. But also, their rules are they're not allowed to kill one another. So he's moved them onto this Iron Fortress on the material plane. And they're just kind of working there, wanting to get the power, because they're cruel and evil, but trying to manipulate the world for their brother to die. That's such a great idea. And the fortress itself is divided into two sections. You've got the fortress itself, and then you've got the underground, which is all the mines. And so each of the brothers control and run there. So we've got Malik the Cunning. He's as thin as a whip and shrewd as a viper, and he wields sorcery. And he basically runs the mines, and he's enslaved all these Duergar there. Plot ideas from the player's point of view through his magic ability. He's like using all these magical spells and charisma based stuff to make them work for him. And then we've got Gasper the Fierce, who towers over his brother wielding a black bladed scimitar, and he's in charge of the fortress, and he's got his own sort of militant salamanders that will defend him to death. So you've got, say, two whole different adventures within one adventure here. And because it's on the material plane, I was a little bit sad initially that it wasn't actually on the hex crawl. It's in the material plane, but it means you can take this adventure and put it anywhere. Well, you can actually with most adventures anyway, but you can do this easy. I mean, you know, we've got a few rumours in here to get the players on there. So I'm not going to really spoil this because I've read it but not played it. So it's very hard to totally spoil an adventure. But when they're in the Iron Fortress, so there's 19 locations. Well, it's 18 because the 19th one's just a trapdoor. But there's 18 individual areas in here. And it's going to take you through the encounters, like how often the guards are going to change, how easy it is to get around once the guards are moving. You don't actually, if the players are smart and scout sufficiently, you don't need to start by going into the Iron Fortress, because getting in the fortress, there's only two ways in. There's the north exit and the south exit and entrance, so to speak. And there's all guard towers and stuff, so there's going to be an element of sneaking. However, there is a way to specifically get down to the mines, and then from the mines, they can do all the mine stuff and then come up. Remember, Duergar magically being forced to do what they are. So again, you might want to drop hints about the rumours of the slavery and things like that that's going in. But each of the two areas, we're going to have like a captain's quarter, or it's like a vault, I think it's actually called, that is full of gold, magic items. But there's lots of wandering creatures in here. The random sort of wandering encounter tables are quite mean. There's some good. There's one of them where I'm going to spoil it, where a guy is just like an invisible person is following them, and then it will just try and pick someone off, completely unaware, and that is harsh. But that's why encounter tables are there. You know, it's you take your time. Hopefully don't roll a one. Unless you're the games master that likes to roll the one. Do you actually? I've been toying with getting the players to roll encounter tables at certain events. I don't know if anyone does that. Whether that's a thing, because I quite like the thought of the players rolling and having their own doom, like I do in Mortborg, where I get the players to roll their damage themselves as opposed to me doing it. But you then get a different set of encounters when you get down into the mines, or I think. Hopefully the players will start in the mines because it's just going to be a little bit easier to get through, and then, like I say, pop up to the fortress. But also each of these areas have got summoning layers as well. So this is how I envision that the princes were sent to the areas, but they can't use them yet. They're not capable of getting back, and I assume that's because one of the brothers must need to die to activate that. And then finally, obviously, we're going to get this. These tables are really cool because when you're, depending on whether you're up or down, will depend whether you're rolling the Salamander NPCs or Duergar NPCs. Loads of names in here for each of them. Some additional weapons or secrets or things like that they're going to have. The only thing that did slightly confuse me is it does say that you roll for the Salamander, and it's a D22, which I don't own. So you might have to just roll a D20 and then just start scratching them off, because the Duergar, that's a D20. So I don't know. I genuinely don't know. But if that is, I think, possibly, and here's your map of the two locations. As I say, here's your 19 here, where the players can get straight down into the mines, which you're going to hope if they scout out efficiently, because as you can see, there's no other way in without sort of scaling the walls to actually get into the tower. Okay, so that's it. And then on the back page, you've just got this random table here for this random loot table. I love this one. I kind of spoiled it right from outset that I think this is more suited to me. than the first one. And next up we've got Vikings, and if you watch this channel you'll know I love Vikings, so I'm really excited to get into the third one. But anyway, right, let's just get back into Red Sands. I think I'd say my two little grumbles really is that I don't think that the Desert Rider class is going to excite people. Because you know, if you look at this fortress adventure, once you get into that fortress adventure, the Desert Rider's not, he's got nothing to do. Well, he's got stuff to do, but he's got no special abilities because it's so specific to an adventure. I like the idea of it, but I'm not convinced it's the sort of thing that I'm going to enjoy in my playstyle. And I think players, let me know if you played one. Pit Fighter, really good. Think probably very, very strong. And the Rasgadai class, that smoke step. It's going to take a lot to control your player when they can do that 3 times a day. The things that and the inventive stuff I'd expect my players to be coming up with is going to make that really, really interesting. New weapons are fun. Pit fighting rules, you can have a laugh. Because downtime activities are, it's something that a good games master needs to make use of. You don't want to just going from one adventure to the next and just constantly just churning out adventures, because that's not really how people work. You need sort of downtime and have people spending money for accommodation and food, because if not, money means nothing. So you need to sort of have these additional things for the players to be doing in the downtime. So the poisons, absolutely fine. Can't buy them. You're gonna have to make them. So that's the wound rules. I love that. I really love that. And I didn't know this existed, obviously, until I read this, and I'm going to put that in. As long as my players don't universally complain about it, that will be coming into all of the games I run. The hex crawl is really, really interesting. There's some really good locations where, I say, there's players discover this, and then they can do something to gain a reward to then get a really cool magic item. The dragon is going to be tough. And because it is, I'm going to spoil this, but it is a level 18 dragon. So as you'd imagine, it's not the sort of thing that players should take lighthearted and probably avoided. You'd like to think. I'd say that adventure it reads really, really well. So that whole backstory and being able to play off, you know, if you can win over one of the brothers, the players can then try and assassinate the other brother and vice versa. There's going to be lots of bribery, corruption in there, as well as, you know, do you actually want to try and free the Duergar? Are they the ones that are wrong? Or Duergar, you know, evil and bad? It's really up to you as the games master and how the players are going to take that on. But I kind of think that, like the Temple of Doom, not that I'm comparing Duergar to children, but there is that aspect of, I suppose they're short, aren't they? There is that aspect of the players will probably want to free the Duergar, which means that the one brother is probably going to get a kick in. You know, it's going to be Malik that might be the way that they go, no, he's the really bad one. Let's work for Caspar, because the players are stuck there as well. You know, those teleport rooms don't work as yet. So yeah, I choose better than one. This is I'm doing that Star Wars analogy, aren't I? That Empire Strikes Back is better. And is Curse Scroll 3 going to be Return of the Jedi? I hope not, because it's Vikings. But yeah, we'll be back doing Curse Scroll 3. Say, if you've enjoyed this and you like the video, please like, share, subscribe to the channel, share it with a friend, share it with a games master. And there'll be links to the late pledge for Western Reaches, as well as if you want to pick this up direct from the Arcane Library website. So, and I'll see you again. Well, I'll see you a week from now with Curse Scroll 3. Thank you for watching.